Hello everybody, welcome back to another light novel review. Today I am talking about volume number 2 in the Irregular at Magic High School. This one by Tsutomu Sato. Now, this is part 2 of the enrollment arc, so volume 2, part 2. This one now follows after the events of volume number 1 where we ended, where there was a showdown between the Kendo and the Kenjutsu clubs, and Tatsuya kind of found himself getting involved in the middle of it. We find out that since that sort of event occurred, there have been some, unrest amongst the students, and that there has been at least a few instances where students have tried to attack Tatsuya. Now, of course, because he's so great, it really hasn't been an issue for him. He's managed to deflect these things. But he starts to realize that maybe there's a bigger problem going on in the school. He actually notices that one of the students who attacks him, even though he doesn't actually see the student's face, what he does catch a glimpse of is they're wearing a certain bracelet, which he recognizes as being sort of an offshoot branch of an anti-magic establishment. So he starts to realize that perhaps these things have started to enter into the school and that they're feeding off of students' dissatisfaction with the fact that we have these divisions of course 1, course 2, and that they're using potentially this dissatisfaction and unrest amongst the students to potentially cause a larger incident. Now, volume number 2 kind of taught me a couple of things about this story. So first thing that we learned about this story, or should I say I learned about this story, is I still really like the idea of the magic system. I think the whole idea and concept that you have an electronic device that basically replaces the grimoire and incantations and such, and that you're using that as a way of casting a spell, I think that's kind of neat. It's still kind of a cool idea, sort of merging this very sort of old school magic idea with science and technology. Also, I do like that this book sort of takes a look at an idea of how society potentially could create divisions of individuals based on ability, and then how those divisions could cause certain unrest, how certain people will use that unrest to further their own means. I think in a sense it takes sort of a more realistic view on human behavior and how humans can be manipulated when they're in a system that makes them feel that they are unequal. This is a pretty timely thing when we're talking about these sort of, same sort of situations in our own society, but it's usually based more on things like race, more on your place of origin and so forth. In this case, we're sort of extrapolating that, and again, as a lot of very good science fiction will do, it focuses the lens on that idea, but does it in a way that eliminates the whole idea of race, religion, etc., and instead focuses on something that has been created. And in this case, it is whether you are strong in magic, mediocre at magic, or have no magic whatsoever. If you fall into either of those strata, it can seriously affect what your future is like. And even though Tatsuya himself acknowledges that those who are very strong in magic actually have almost a harder time than those who aren't, because they are pretty much used and abused in a lot of ways by a country that is only looking at them as a means of an end. In society in general, they still view these people as being better than them. And in that case, we have this group of people that want to tear them down, that want to end the fact, this perception that they have that these people have it better than them. So in that case, this book is pretty interesting, and this story shows some thought. The problem here is what else reading this book taught me, and that is reading this book is no fun. The writing, and I'm pretty convinced at this point that it's the writing. I don't think it's necessarily the fault of the translator, because I said in my first video that the writing was clunky, and I really didn't know how to express that, but when I was reading this book, I realized what it was, is that the author, in an attempt to show us just how different Tatsuya is in his way of thinking, or how odd certain things are, or how irregular things are, first feels the need to say, you would think that Tatsuya was grinning because of A, B, or C, but oh no, he's doing it because of E. You would think that Miyuki smiling at Tatsuya would be blah, 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 but in reality, it's, you know what I mean? This happens so often, and even the description of the magic, which should be cool and interesting and engaging, it often comes off like I'm reading a physics textbook. I would say that if you're going to create a magic system, especially if it is a cool and original idea, keep it simple. Keep it simple, explain it once, and then get out of the way and just let the story go. I, as a reader, will just accept that, you know what? They used their CAD. They accomplished something awesome. Cool, it's magic. But to have it broken down and have it explained to me in a way that it's almost like the author feels like what he's doing is a MacGuffin or a Deus Ex Machina, and he just wants to justify it to you that, no. Because of this scion and this eidos and this and that, then no, that's why this was accomplished. And I'm kind of sitting there going, you're making excuses, dude, and it's totally breaking the flow of the story. I don't care. He shot his magic gun and guys fell down. We're done. Good. Cool. There's a clean, easy way to write that. Let's just make it happen. So I'm kind of torn at this point because I like the ideas. I'm not too thrilled with the whole gross relationship between Miyuki and Tatsuya. I really, like, that's just so unnecessary, and like, you can have sibling devotion without it getting nasty. But, and to be honest, it wasn't quite as grotesque in this as it was in the first volume, believe it or not, but somebody told me that it gets even kind of more disturbing in later volumes, so I don't know how I feel about that. So it just feels like there's so much unnecessary stuff in here, that there's unnecessary words, there's unnecessary wording. Don't tell me what my expectation of a character is and then why I'm wrong. Just tell me what the character's doing. Because after a while, you sort of feel like you're being lectured to instead of just reading a book about a person. And it takes you out of the story because the author is constantly interfering with the story and trying to tell you how you should interpret something and then why you're wrong. So the act of reading this story it's bothersome. I don't really enjoy it. So I got to be honest, as much as there are a few elements of this story that I really like, as much as there's even a few things that I'm kind of curious about down the road, this is going to be the end of my reviews of the Irregular at Magic High School. There are just too many other series that are way too good that I want to keep up with. So this is where I'm going to shelve this series for now. I do apologize if you love the series and you're hoping I was going to review more, but really, I want to keep up with other stuff. And as some of you have pointed out in my Q&A video, in some comments and stuff like that, there are other series that I still have not even reviewed the volume ones. Certain Magical Index, The Disappearance of Haruhi, I can't remember her last name, even Vampire Hunter D. I would like to read some more Spice and Wolf, and I enjoyed that book a lot more than I did reading this one. So, you know, good ideas, but for me, I just don't find it enjoyable to read. So for now, I'm going to move on from this series. As I said, this is a personal choice. I'm not slagging on anybody who loves the series. If you love it, that's awesome. And I'm glad that you love the series. But for me right now, when I have so many other series that I need and want to read, this is just not one that I can find myself sticking with. So those are my thoughts on The Irregular at Magic High School, volume number 2. My next review is going to be on a series that I always love to read, and that is The Devil is a Part-Timer. And this one's going to be volume number 5, so we're starting to get up there in this series. So that'll be my review next week. I do apologize that this video is late this week. Some unforeseen circumstances prevented me from recording. It's called a YouTuber wife who needed the camera. It's all good. No problems there. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know the deal. If you're new, click on subscribe so you can see all my future light novel reviews. If you're new here and you want to check out some of the old stuff, I've got links across the top. And I don't just read books, I do happen to write them too. I've got links to that. You can check those out as well too. Thanks very much for watching the video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.